And hello and welcome everyone back to another round of the Virtual Drift Championship. This time we're at Sturup Raceway, and with me as always is Tanner. What's up, Tanner?
What is going on, Craig? Round 2 already. Feels like round 1 wasn't that long ago, but what an exciting round it was. And now we're here at the Sturup Raceway, and now we're super excited. Love this track. Super fast, super technical, and it's going to be a great day.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've visited this particular layout, but the track has certainly, I guess, become a staple of the Virtual Drift Championship. We're super excited to be back, and of course these updates from Jonathan Simpson over at Joka Design. The track just looks incredible, plus, you know, the new start gate and all the track objects. And we'll go to that line map while those drivers are getting their last little bit of practice runs in. And same as 2020, you have a 50 roll all the way down until the new horizontal line across that track. Drivers are required to pick up that throttle as soon as that they cross that line and go up to that first outside zone for clip 1. Drivers also need to be entering before that initiation line as well, making sure that car is sideways and not rotating after it or rotating in the middle of that first outside zone, and then carrying that momentum all the way down into your next outside zone, clip 2, and into clip 3, where you see your first decel zone. That decel zone is very small. It basically, as the car rotates and after that rotation, the driver is allowed to decel just a little bit there, but they need to be picking back up that throttle as soon as possible and driving down into clip 4, your first inside clip, and through it down into clip 5, where your next very small decel zone is. And again, after that car transitions is when that driver is allowed to decel just a little bit across clip 5 for inside clip 2, and then back out to your last and final outside zone, clip 6. And drivers need to be getting out to that wall there pretty much right where that zone starts, and making a nice smooth line into it, not sacrificing too much angle and then pouring it on into clip 6. They need to, hold that good angle all the way into clip 6 and then keep the momentum going until that finish line. And we've got our first group loaded in. I think we might be ready to send cars. Looks like we have Nick Hang returning to us. He's up first. You're round 2 Sturup Raceway. He should be ready to go. Brand new track cameras as well, but I can't get over these textures. Nick Hang pours on that throttle and it enters in nicely. Good momentum down the hill, nice transition, staying on throttle. There's that small little decel there in between those inside clips, keeping that momentum going. And wow, solid run from Nick Hang to start us out today.
Nick Hang really coming in strong. Got to lead out Group 1, though. Got to set the momentum for the rest of the day. As if it's anything like last event, that was a very high top 32 score as we just wait for Nick Hang's scores to come in. And a 87.7 for Nick Hang's run. So not a bad way to start off Group 1, as we have Darius Ostreka at the line, his S15. Waiting to get that green light to go, or blue light in this case. Off he goes. Yeah, Nick Hang there looking super solid. Now we'll see what Darius can lay down as he comes through that 50, gets past the line, can get on throttle, initiates in. Darius looking good so far as he's coming down the hill into that inside clip, holding lots of angle through those outer zones and into these inside clips. Let's see how he does on the wall, putting the back bumper right on it, maybe coming a little off, but sticking with it the whole way around. Good run there from Darius.
Yeah, drivers starting out strong here. 88.3 on the board for Darius Ostreka. And we're quickly on to Jake Wise. Picks that throttle up. A very nice initiation. Again, holding that momentum. Small decel zone there through that outside zone. Again, there for that inside clip. Nice line into that last and final outside zone along that wall ride. And again, another strong run here.
Yeah, Jake Wise putting together a pretty decent run, coming in with our first 90 of the day already at a 91 for Jake Wise. So setting the pace already. Here we go with those high scores yet again. Jordan El Nasser in the beautiful Dodge Viper, getting ready for his first crack of qualifying. Gets on that throttle. Initiates in, dropping a little tire outside of outer zone 2, coming through 3 in that first inside clip, makes the transition work and hangs onto it as he pushes out towards that wall. In a little deeper, but holding some nice angle along it and finishing out the first run qualifying for Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan looking good there in that Viper. He's been putting a lot of practice in the past few weeks. And a solid 84 on the board. As we're waiting on Nielsen in his SC. He's been called to the line through Discord. I've heard it. There he is. I couldn't hear his car though, but again, that 50 roll, we'll see that play out in battles later on as well. Needs pickup throttle there. That's a good job doing so. Nice entry. Good speed down the hill. Smooth transition. Tight to these inside clips. Note to point out is judges want to see those drivers staying off those inside rumble strips. He does a good job there, and that last and final outside zone.
Yeah, Oran really picking it up there, and great to see that sort in this game as well. Seen it, you know, get to see the images of it in real life. Now get to see it here too. So it's great to see him out. 87.7 there for Oran Nelson's first run. So we have Ethan in the beautiful Nissan Z. He's going to get on that power and initiating that first outer zone, start coming down the hill into outer zone 2. Looking good. Lots of angle coming into that first inside clip. Gets the transition to stick for the second inside clip. Puts it right against the wall. Look at Ethan really tearing it up there today for his run of qualifying.
Yeah, that was a ton of angle there through clip 3, that outside zone 3. But he might have ended up maybe a little too inside for that next inside clip, maybe. But look, there's 89 on the board. And here we are, Ryan Literal. And initiating in, very close to being a little late there. But flying down the hill, big angle. Through that first inside clip. A little hesitant there on that transition in between those inside clips, but filling the last outside zone and finishing run 1 strong.
Yeah, good run there from Ryan Literal. Again, like you said, a little hesitant on that transition, but still gets a good score on the board with an 86. We have Hiroya Minawa ready for their run. See what they can do in the GT86. And on the power. Let's see what Minawa can do here. Initiates in, good angle coming down the hill through the outer zones. Picks up those inside clips quite nicely. Little wide on the second one, but makes it work and runs up for the wall. Just glues the rear bumper to it. Looking good for Minawa. 85.7 from Hiroa, as we have Reese Tatterson now, our final driver of Group 1, but we still have another set of qualifying runs to do for Group 1. Reese Tatterson coming in strong, really quick down that hill, filling all the outer zones so far, and those inside clips, pushing out to that final wall, getting right up on the edge. Looking good. Wow, Reese, we're trying to get a comeback run here. And Reese popping in there, getting a score of 90.3. Very close to that 91 set by Jake Wise. We're back around to Nick Hang. Nick Hang sitting on that 87.7. Beautiful S14 of his. Here he goes, off the initiation, down the hill, lots of angle as he transitions to that next outer clip. Whoa! Really throwing the angle at that first inside clip and through the second. Nick Hang's gonna hang it all out now on that wall. And look at that, great second run from Nick Hang.
Yeah, absolutely wants to better that 87.7. As we saw last round, the cutoff 92.3. And actually falls, looks like a little bit shy, 86 up on the board for Nick Hang. We're on to Darius Ostraker for his second run, sitting on an 88.3. Solid, smooth initiation in, flying down that hill and filling that next outside zone. Very good line here, good commitment throughout this course. All the way up along that wall. Great run from Darius Ostraker there.
Darius Ostraker coming in extremely strong with a 95.3. That was a very solid run there from Darius and a very high score. So now knocking out what was the current leader, was sitting on a 91, Jake Wise. He's definitely going to have to put in some work to maybe try and get that top spot back. We'll see what Jake Wise can do in the S14. Initiates in, gets on that power, lots of angle coming through that second outer zone, makes the transition work and gets right up into that inside pocket of that inside clip and grabbing the next one as well, pushing all the way out to the wall and holding nice angle, little bobble there at the very end, but very solid run from Jake.
Yeah, it certainly was. And sitting on the 91, although strong. Round one was a 92.3 and a 91.7, so he does better it just by a little bit. And we're on to Jordan El Nasser again in his Viper, sitting on an 84. On throttle, initiating in. Tons of speed down the hill. A little tentative there through that transition in between the inside clips, but he's back on throttle and flying through that last outside zone. A good finish to his second run.
It looks like Jordan attempted to be a little more committed, and sadly that one transition hurt him a little bit. 82.7 for his final run. So hopefully he sees the top 32, but these scores, they're crazy to get into the top 32 here, so we'll see what happens. Coming up to the line now, Oron Nelson sitting on that 87.7, the beautiful Toyota Soarer. Love this car. It's so cool to see it. Let's see what he can do for his second run. Getting on throttle, initiates in. Carrying lots of momentum down the hill, filling the outside zones. Going through that inside clip, big lock up the front brakes there, but keeps it going. Gets it nice and up on the wall. Holding that angle, little wall tap right at the end for this final run for Oren Nelson. Oren Nelson getting an 85.3 on that second run. As we move over now to Ethan. Ethan sitting on that 89. But in a nice looking Nissan Z here. Let's see what he can do if he can get up into those 90s. Throwing it down the hill. filling all of that outer zone and really pushing for that inside clip and gets it beautifully. A little bit on the rumble strips there as he comes through the second outer inside clip, but puts it on the wall for the final outer zone and really hangs it out there and looking nice and solid in that new Nissan Z. We'll see what scores come in for him. Looking like an 88 there for Ethan, as Sean O'Dew gets his one and only qualifying run. Sean O'Dew missed his first qualifying attempt, and now he's here, so he's got to do a one and done. Let's see what he can do. Little late on the initiation there, but makes it work down the hill, filling out those outer zones and push into the inside clips. One and done run here for Sean. He's got to make everything count. Could have been a little deeper on the wall, but he got the qualifying run in and gets the points on the board, and we'll see what he comes out with. So an 81. 81 there for Sean O'Dew's second attempt, or first attempt and only attempt. We'll see how that goes. We have Ryan Literal, that beautiful S15, going for his second run, sitting on that 86. Getting through these inside clips. Really just trying to commit everything to this course. Ryan Literal not doing a too bad of a run. We'll see if that improves on his 86. And it definitely looks like it's going to. I mean, that was a very nice run from Ryan Literal. A 92.7 for Ryan Literal. Kuroa now for their second run, 85.7 in the Advan GT86, initiating in. Down that hill, looking good. Nice angle through those outer zones, filling the boxes. A little hesitant there as he came to that first inside clip, touching the rumble strip a little bit for the second one, filling out this outer zone, really hanging that rear end against that wall, seeing if that'll improve his 85.7. And Minowa does improve with an 88 as we move on to our final driver of Group 1, Reese Tatterson, sitting on that 90.3, trying to get a bit of a comeback from the last round there where he did not make it into the top 32, initiating in. Looking good. Tons of speed down the hill. Makes that inside clip work as he gets the transition done. Back on throttle right away. Reese Tatterson, man on a mission here today. Hopefully that's enough to get it done. We wait for his scores to come in, and they're looking good so far, and that does bump him up. 93 for Reese Tatterson, so very good job from him as that rounds out Group 1.
It sure does. What a strong group as I work to get that top 8 box working. But it seems to be good now, and Darius Ostreka is still at the top with the 95.3 already in Group 1. Reese Tatterson right behind him with the 93, and Ryan Literal with a 92.7 for your current top 3. And if you're just now joining us, we'll bring up that line map one more time here. Again, 50 roll, and we'll watch that play out later on. The chase driver is allowed to somewhat do what they want to do, or position where they want to position, so they don't have to stay on the left side of that divider line for the run up. But of course, you know, that chase or the lead car gets the right of way through that, but as the lead car needs to stay on the right hand side, the outside of that turn there through that 50-mile-an-hour run up, and then on throttle as soon as they cross that line there, indicating that the 50 roll is over, and then initiating in for that first outside zone at the top of the hill, and making sure that they're initiating in before that line. It's very easy here to rotate through that first outside zone box rather than, you know, starting to get that car sideways before that line there, and then holding that momentum all the way down the hill and not over angling as well. It's can be a little easy to come up over the crest. The car loses a ton of grip, comes back down, and now suddenly you're at a ton of angle, but you're actually losing speed that way going down the hill before you're making your transition. And it's really tough for that chase car to, hold their position on the track. So drivers need to make sure that they're, really flying down that hill somewhat as fast as they can, but of course with good angle. And then rotating the car into your next outside zone at clip 3 and decelling there if need be. A lot of these drivers are actually transitioning. It looks like they're just staying on throttle. Maybe these new tires that we've switched to, but previously, you really needed to decel there. You would go way too wide for clip 4, your first inside clip. And then back down into your next inside clip, clip 5, where you see that another small decel zone there. It needs to be right after the transition, then into your last and final outside zone. But it looks like we have Robert at the line, ready to go. All right, he should be ready to go. Again, his first run of the day. This is now Group 2 already, one group down. We've got 90s on the board already. See if Robert can put himself there as well. Looking good so far through the first outside zones. Into 3 as well. Very nice through that inside clip. Down into that one as well. And just flying through the last outside zone. Great run from Robert.
Yeah, Robert really hanging it out there. What a great first run there for Group 2. As we wait for his scores to come in. And they're high. They're looking good. 96.7 for Robert Kavinsky. Wow, I knew that was a nice run from watching it, but that definitely solidifies it. And 96.7 as we have Verkeres Alakas now in that R35. Initiating in. Coming off a second run of 96. That's going to be a little challenging, but Verkeres can do it. Oh, sorry. Wrong person. I apologize. Deshaun Hack. I was looking one thing down. Deshaun Hack looking good for his run. And we'll see what kind of score they can put on the board.
It does, and those GTRs, him and Gawain together, and 87 on the board. So a good first run for him as we move on to now Verkeres. Returning to us in his GT86. Snappy initiation, flying down that hill. Very tight to the inside clips as well. Remember, judges want to see that lead driver stay off the rumble strips. He does exactly that and finishes the run strong.
You know, and that's exactly what I was thinking when I said R35. I was like, wait, Verkeres doesn't drive an R35. I might gotta be looking at the wrong name here. And I definitely was, but Verkeres coming out strong with a 92.7. So we have Roman in that beautiful R33. R33s are a soft spot for me. Let's see what he can do. Laying on the power, initiating in. Looking good so far, coming through that second outer zone into the third. A little bit of a wheel correction there, but gets that inside clip. Barely lifting off throttle. Could have been a little deeper on the second inside clip, but makes it work to get up on the wall and hangs onto it the whole way around. Not a bad first run there from Roman.
Yeah, looking good, although a couple of areas where it maybe seemed like he was, struggling to get that car to maybe drive forward and catch some grip, but a solid score, 88.3 on the board. We're on to Artem Makashenko. New car for him this season in a 880 Supra. Cool looking kit as well. And a little late to pick up throttle there, leaving that 50 zone. But he's flying down the hill now, tight to the inside clip. Little bit of a waver there, but good transition, picking up that throttle, trying to get that car to drive forward for the outside zone. And a good first run for Artem.
Artem really throwing it down there. The speed he was carrying into that first inside clip was quite immense, and there it is, a 91.3 for Artem Matschenko. So very nice run indeed as we move on to Wojciech. That 370Z. Just going to get on power and initiate in here down the hill. And all these drivers carrying so much speed. He's able to make it work. Goes up on the rumble strips a little bit, but doesn't for the second inside clip. He pushes out for the wall run now. And the final outer zone, and sticks with it and looks good through it as well.
Yeah, Wojciech is looking pretty comfortable in the Z, and 83 up on the board. And quickly on to Vladislav. His fresh F22. Rotating in. Good speed down the hill here. Nice smooth transition. Tiny bit of a waver there, but look at the angle here through this last and final outside zone. And a solid run from Vladislav.
Yeah, Vladislav putting down a very impressive run there, and it shows again in the score with a 92.3, another 90 on the board as we move over to Russell Jones. Russell Jones in that GR86. Let's see what he can do here for his first round of qualifying down the hill. Nice angle as he comes down and transitions into that outside zone. Look at that. Just grabbed that inside clip. Almost thought he was going to overshoot it, but he made that correction and got in there and got it on the wall. Held it all the way through that outside zone. Very quick run from Russell Jones.
Yeah, Russell cooking through the course there. A nice looking car. 88.7 on the board. And we're on to Victor Alves. His first run of the day. Good initiation in, filling those two outside zones. And three as well. Right to the inside clip. Victor looking solid here. Into this last and final outside zone along that wall. Victor Alves.
Victor Alves coming out swinging for the first round of qualifying. 92.7. What a score from Victor. Good to see that on the board. We have our last driver of Group 2 before we get to the second qualifying runs. Lucas Taziemski. Let's see what Lucas can do here. Initiates in down the hill, looking good. Lots of angle, fills that entire outside zone as it comes to that inside clip. Transitions for the second. Just putting it on the wall. Again, another really solid run. These drivers, they make it hard.
Yeah, and I mean, just like that, the full top 8 is nothing but 90s and above. 96.7, Robert leading the field, and there's another 90, 91.3 up on the board. And we're back around to Robert, who's currently leading qualifying. Again with the 96.7 on the board. Rolls onto the throttle there. A good initiation. The commitment through the hill there. Down into the inside clip. Ooh, can he stay off the wall? He does. Very close there. Just peeking a wheel in there. And wow, Robert.
Wow. Robert. Robert. You know, round one, we had a monumental moment where the highest score was broken. And I think it just got broken again. A 98 from Robert, which, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, the highest score ever achieved in the Virtual Drift Championship.
I think so.
This season is no joke, as we have Deshaun Hack in that R35, sitting on that 87, making his way through the course. Sorry we didn't commentate too much on it, but that 98, that is mind-blowing. Robert looked so dialed in on that run. as the scores come in for Deshaun Hack.
And 88.3, so still a solid score. But these scores along the board here looking super high already. Vicaris here for his second run, 92.7 for his first. Rolls on into the throttle, initiates in. Filling the outside zone 2 nicely, as well as 3. Ooh, peeking a little wheel over the dirt there, but tight to the inside clip. Drives that car into it. Outside zone 4. Across that finish line.
And Vicaris' second run coming in a little shorter at an 88.3 as well. But that's a good tiebreaker score if another 92.7 comes up, as you have Roman going for his second run, sitting on an 88.3. He's going to want to improve that a little bit the way today is going. Initiates in that R33, could have been a little deeper in that first outside zone, but makes it work down the hill. Gets through that first inside clip and makes the transition stick. A little bobble there as he tries to extend out to get onto the wall and into that final outer zone. But once he was in there, stuck it on the wall and kept it there. And we'll see what kind of score comes in for Roman's second run.
And quickly on to Artem Makashenko in his Supra. Rolling onto the throttle, and a nice snappy initiation in, filling outside zone 2. Down into 3 as well. Small little correction through the inside clip, but grabs the next one all the way out there to that wall. A solid run again for Artem. The driver's making the wall look easy this time.
Yeah, and Artem coming out there with that 90.7. We have Vocec ready for his second run, sitting on an 83, something he's definitely going to want to improve. Their final run of qualifying. Lay it all out. Vocec comes down the hill there, transitioning to that next outside zone, looking good. Lots of angle and speed as he comes in that second inside clip and pushes out to the final outer zone. Gets it on the wall, holds it there with lots of angle coming through that final run, trying to improve that 83.
I think he might have done it on that run. That was much better. And look at there, 92 on the board. And that puts him in the current top 8 down there at the bottom, 8th position with a 92 already. We're back around to Vladislav. 92.3 for his first run. Speed down the hill. Big angle there through inside clip 1. Nice snappy transition there for inside clip 2. All the way out there to the wall, peeking that wheel in and finishing strong as Vladislav.
Ooh.
Tikhon looks like he found himself a good teammate.
I was going to say, I mean, but again, if you're teammates with Tikhon, you got to be just as dialed in. I think Vladislav managed to pull that off with a 94, bettering his 92.3, and pushing him up a little farther in that top 32. So we have Russell Jones sitting on that 88.7. The way today's going, Russell, you got to improve that. Let's see a 90 out of you. I know you got it in you. And that GR86 initiates in. Starts carrying that speed down the hill. Good angle. A little bit of a correction, though, as he tries to make it into that inside clip. That might hurt his score a little bit as he comes through that second inside clip, pushes out to the wall, holds a nice angle around the wall ride for that final outer zone. And we'll see if that improves on his 88.7.
And just shy, 86.7 on the board. And we're back around to Victor Alves for his second run. Currently tied up there, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Let's see what he can do for run 2 as he throws that car in, but drops some tire along outside zone 2. Keeps things going. Down in the inside clip. Fill in the last outside zone. Overall, good run, but I think the tire drops are going to hurt him just a bit, and it does, 83.
Yeah, Victor really going for a full send run there, and sadly it hurts his final score. But we'll see what happens after our qualifying's over and where he's places in the top 32 if he makes it in. Lucas Taziemski, 91.3 coming down the hill. Looking good, filling the outside zones, getting those the first inside clip, making the transition for the second. Just coming up on that second hash mark. He pushes all the way out to the wall, holds his angle. He adds a little bit of angle there near the finish line, but holds it together.
And a 90.3 on the board. So a solid score, but he's going to hang on to the 91.3. We'll see if our qualifying box wants to cooperate. It does. There you see 9 through 16 up on the board. Jake Wise with a 91.7. And then Hiroa down there with an 88. And to round off our current top 20 after 2 groups qualifying, Nick Hang with an 87.7 and Sean O'Dew with an 81. Getting closer and closer to being able to get an idea of what that cutoff score is going to be like today.
It's going to be high. I mean, I think we're going to be back in the 90s for top 32 yet again. I mean, especially when we're getting runs like Robert there with that 98, just absolutely full sending it and just showing how dialed in he is. We'll see if anyone can answer back. Next few groups have a lot of strong drivers in them, and these drivers surprise us every day.
Absolutely, and they've been going off so far as Robert breaking the record once again in round 2 with that 98 up on the board. Just insane run, and the commitment that he had through it. Speed didn't really use the decel zones. Maybe that's the difference, especially the one through outside zone 3, sort of down there at the bottom of the hill, sort of just stayed on throttle, drove that car in for inside clip 1, then snappy transition down into 2, kept wheels off the rumble strips as the judges want, and then out to that last and final outside zone, right where the wall, or excuse me, out to the wall right where the outside zone starts is where the judges want to see those drivers get out to the wall.
Yeah, that's a crazy run. I know Zach's going to be hurting on that one. Zach Sullivan took I believe it was a 97.3 on the last one.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I mean, there's still time to top that 98.
There is. And we'll see who maybe can pull it off with still a lot of groups to go. A lot of drivers showed up today. We've got 7 groups coming at you. We're only done to Group 2. We're on Group 3 right now.
And it looks like our first driver for Group 3 is up. At the line, ready to go. Austin Zalewski. Joining back in the A80 Supra. Since it's just a 50 roll, as soon as that light turns on, drivers can go. Of course, pick up that throttle when they cross that line and into the course, down the hill, dropping just a little bit of a tire there past outside zone 2, but tight to these inside clips. To the last and final outside zone along the wall, leaves it just a little bit. Finishes the course strong.
Yeah, Austin setting that pace for Group 3, 86.3, so score he's more than likely going to want to try and improve on in the second run as we have Brandon Gardner at the line. And that NOS Energy Drink C. Beautiful car to see in game as well. Did a very good job on this model. We'll see what Brandon Gardner can lay down for his first run. Initiates in. Lots of angle right off the hop as he comes through outer zone 3 and into that inside clip, getting nice and tight towards it. Just avoiding that rumble strip as he pushes out towards the wall, gets into that outer zone. He's in it mostly. We'll see what kind of score comes in for Brandon Gardner.
Yeah, Gardner looking dialed, 92.3. A good score there up on the board. Currently 8th position, but remember, round 1, that was the cutoff. As we go on to Oliver Eppinger. Throws that super in. And looks good down the hill so far here. Transitions across, fills that zone. Tight to the inside clip. Down to the next one. Just catching a wheel over that rumble strip ever so slightly, but filling the next outside zone. And a pretty good score for Oliver Eppinger. Well, run. We'll have to wait on the score.
Yeah, definitely. The score came in though, and it's an 88.7. It's a good starting
It's
score
pretty
there.
good.
It's pretty good. Good starting score there from Oliver with that 88.7, as we have now the teammate of Vladislav, Tikhon Pileski, the robot himself in that S14.
Beep boop.
The beep boop himself, initiating in. Let's see what Tikhon can throw down here for his first run. Looking solid so far. Beautiful through that outer zone, grabbing that inside clip. Beautiful through the second one as well, getting it right up along the wall and holding that angle. Woo! Tikhon coming out swinging on the first run of qualifying.
As he always does. Tikhon Pileski. Calculating before he goes. Does near exactly what the judges want. Look at there, 93 on the board. That'll put him in 4th. We go to Jonathan Simpson, Joka Design himself in this awesome 180. Throws that car in on the limiter. Flying down the hill here. Right to the inside clip, maybe hanging a tire there on the rumble strip and inside clip 1, but good on 2 and filling the next zone. And finished him with all the commitment. My word.
One thing I love about Jonathan's runs, he just comes out there and just puts his right foot down and no care. 83.7 for Jonathan Simpson as we move on to Brandon Patrick. In that beautiful Ferrari. Great to see the Ferrari back here as well. Initiates in, coming down the hill. Nice angle through the first and second outer zone. Down the hill into that inside clip. Into the second inside clip. Pushes out for the wall. Even that Ferrari nice on angle. And finishing out his first run.
Yeah, Brandon looking good there. So we wait on his score. We see Maxime come to the line, and a 92.7 on the board for Brandon Patrick. A lot of 92.7 so far. And as we move on to Maxime. On throttle quickly. Initiating in and flying down the hill. Good transition across, back on throttle very quickly. Good line there in between the inside clips. Ooh, it catches just a piece of the wall, keeps things going, and finishes out round 1.
Maxime giving us a bit of a heart attack there. Gonna hurt his score quite a bit going into that wall with an 80.7. But Maxime, he must have been practicing big time in the off season because he's just looking so good out there. And we'll see what Ahmed El Harbi can do for us here in that BMW of his. Initiates in. Ahmed's going to come down that hill with nice angle, keep filling that entire outer zone and into the next one as well, grabbing that inside clip. Little bit of utilization of the decel zone, gets it on the wall, but Ahmed making a good first run as well.
Yeah, and actually switching to that car for this round. So started the season in a 240 hatch and switch to that BMW and looking good, 93.7. We move on to Lazam Isao, VDC veteran, been with us for quite some time, I believe 2018. As he enters in, fills that outside zone too, looking good down the hill. Bit of a handbrake through that outside zone, down into inside clip too. Small little waiver as he comes into the last and final outside zone. There he goes across the finish line for his first run of the day.
Yeah, Lazam there with a couple bobbles here and there, but not affecting his score too much. 88.3 for Lazam's first run. Move on to the final driver of Group 3 before we start the second runs of qualifying. Samuel Cuddy. Samuel Cuddy in that S15. Gets on throttle, throws it into that first outside zone. Tons of angle down the hill as he transitions into outer zone 3. Makes that inside clip as well. Gets the transition done. Not as deep in that second inside clip, but gets it on the wall and holds it there the whole way around. Samuel Cuddy.
Yeah, down that hill, looking good. Samuel Cuddy and his S15, 86. Ooh, it went away from a too fast.
89.3 for Samuel Cuddy.
There it is. And Austin Zalewski back around for his second run. Throwing that super in. Good speed. Nice and snappy transition there. Tight along that inside clip. Down to the second one as well, and driving into that last and final outside zone very nicely, filling it all the way around. Good run from Austin.
Yeah, Austin looking a lot more solid on that second run of his. The scores are reflecting that as well. So he was sitting on that 86.3 and now getting a score of 92 for his final run of qualifying. That'll definitely bump him up. And also sitting in the 92s, 92.3, this man here, Brandon Gardner. In that NOS energy drink, Z gets on throttle, throws it in. Let's see if he can make a better score out of that 92.3. Throwing it down the hill, full commitment, getting that inside clip and grabbing the second one as well, almost perfectly. Putting it along that wall, but comes off of the wall just a little bit, but hangs on to it. And we'll see what kind of score he lays down.
And a 92.7, so betters it just a little bit there. It might be beneficial later on. It sounds crazy that you would, want to maybe better a 92.3, but round one, that was the cutoff as we move on to Oliver Effinger again in his Supra. Looking good through outside zone 1 and 2, down into 3. Full commitment there. He transitions across 4 inside clip 2 and out 2. Outside zone 4. A little bit off the wall there through the middle of it, but overall, solid run from Oliver.
Yeah, and a better score as well, from an 88.7 to a 91.3. Now for Tikon Pileski, the robot's second run, sitting on a 93 and waiting to unleash all the horsepower that S14 has. Initiates in, right angle down the hill. Ooh, maybe not filling all of outer zone 2, but makes up for it on outer zone 3. Comes down the hill into that second inside clip, goes really wide, almost going into the wall, and a mistake from Tikon in qualifying.
Is this Tikon?
Hello?
What is that? Error.
Word.exe has stopped responding.
It certainly did. I mean, he is going to hang on to the 93, so, still a solid score. And I think, that you would hope that would be enough to get into top 32, but we'll have to wait and see as Jonathan Simpson sends this car flying through the course here. Tons of angle there through outside zone 3 along that inside clip. Filling this last and final outside zone. Very good from Jonathan Simpson.
Jonathan Simpson really laying on that throttle and making use of it, getting that 90. So improving his score big time. 83.7 as we move over back to Brandon Patrick sitting on a 92.7. A lot of people sitting in that 92.7. So these second runs are really going to make or break where they qualify as he comes down the hill, throwing it through those outer zones, grabbing that inside clip beautifully, not touching that inside, the inside rumble strip on the second inside clip, and holding it nicely along the wall as well, trying to improve that 92.7.
Yeah, really going after it there for his second run. and a 93.7 on the board for Brandon as we move along to Maxime. And picking up that throttle as he should and throwing that car in. Down the hill, smooth transition into outside zone 3. Right along that inside clip. Really nice there. No waiver into the last and final outside zone. Good run again from Maxime.
Yeah, Maxime really getting on that wall, and this time not touching it and messing up his line and coming in with that 92.3. Definite improvement over that 80.7. As we move on to Ahmed Al-Harbi sitting on a 93.7. Let's see what Ahmed can do on their second run. Initiates in down that hill, filling all of outer zone 2. Transitioning down, getting all of outer zone 3 nice and tight to the first inside clip. Making quick work of the course, but getting on the wall for the final wall ride and the final outer zone. Ahmed looking good out there.
Yeah, seems pretty dialed in the BMW. Again, switching to that car for this round, and a 94.7 for Ahmed Al-Harbi. Puts him in third place. As here is Lazam, coming off his 88.3 in his A90 Super here, and rotates in, maybe a little late there, but filling outside zone 2 and 3 down the hill. Tight to the inside clip, dives down for the next one, hangs the tire over that rumble strip just a little bit there, but all the way out to the wall for the last and final outside zone. Run 2 for Lazam.
Yeah, Lazam getting an 88.7, so just improving his score a little bit. As we come to our last run of Group 3, Samuel Cuddy sitting on that 89.3. I want to say it again, it's just, I think they got to improve, get into those 90s. Let's see if Samuel can do it coming down the hill. Beautiful angle through outer zone 2, maybe a little too much thrown into that inside clip, almost a reverse entry there, but makes it work and keeps on it. And coming through that final outer zone, Samuel Cuddy really going for it on that second run.
A ton of angle there through that outside zone 3, and at 83.7 on the board, so he'll hang on to his 89.3, and that's 3 groups of qualifying down so far, and the scores are high. No, those are not zeros you see there for Zach O'Sullivan and Yasir Saad. They are up next in Group 4. Sean O'Dew rounding out the current top 30 with an 81. So we'll take a short break and we'll be right back with some more qualifying. All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got our next group of qualifying loaded in, Group 4. And your current top 8, Robert, with the new highest score in VDC qualifying with a 98. Darius Ostraker with a 95.3. And Ahmed Al-Harbi switching to that BMW and getting a 94.7 to round out that top 3. Take a quick look at the line map once again. If you're just now joining us, we're here at Sturup Raceway, and the original layout that we ran, I believe we started back in 2018 and ran it through 19 and 20, and then switched to that other layout that has become ever so popular. But this big update from Joko Design led us back to the original layout here. The road mesh has been smoothed as well, so big update for the entire track coming later. As Group 4 gets their last little bit of practice runs in before we start sending cars. Solid group ahead of us. See William there, Zach O'Sullivan, Sear Saad, Mark Pretty returning to us in his A80 Super. Started the season out with an S15, but chose to switch for round 2. That A80 becomes more and more popular amongst the field.
You know, starting Group 4 off with Zach O'Sullivan too, someone who just got dethroned. He took the highest VDC qualifying score in the last round, so I'm sure we're going to see some all-out driving from Zach O'Sullivan on this qualifying run.
Absolutely. Light is on. He's ready to go. Again, 50 roll around this first turn here. As soon as he crosses that line, he can pick up throttle. And throws that super in. Killing outside zone 2. As well as 3. Looking good through the course so far. Tight to that inside clip as well as 2. Driving that super into the last and final outside zone. Giving the wall a little tap there before he crosses that finish line.
Ow. Zach O'Sullivan really going for it. And was it enough? A 97 from Zach O'Sullivan. So close at 98. He's got another chance, though, in his second run of qualifying. We'll see if he can go after it. Next up here is Yasir Saad in that beautiful FD RX-7. Let's see what Yasir can lay down here, initiating in, throwing it down the hill. Looking good. Lots of angle as he comes through that first inside clip and makes the transition work beautifully for the second inside clip. Filling that outer zone. Yasir Saad looking great out there, following up from Zach.
Yeah, looking comfortable in the RX-7. And a 95.3, so strong score as we move on to Abdul Rahman. Oh shit, we turning back in the RX-8. He debuted for round 1 this season. Throwing that car in, looking good through outside zone 1 and 2, down into 3. A commitment. As I say that, a little tentative through that inside clip too, but all the way out there to the wall for the last and final outside zone. Cross that finish line. Strong run from Abdul Rahman.
Yeah, Abdul Rahman really throwing it in there in that RX-8, 2 rotaries back to back, and a 93 for Abdul Rahman Al-Shetwi. Very nice to see. Kazuki Fukushi in the Evo 10. Cool to see this car here. Kazuki always brings great cars for us almost all the time, from that Sleek of his last year. Now the Evo. Throwing it in is Kazuki. Looking good so far in that Evo 10, making it work through that first inside clip, getting the second one, getting back on throttle, put it on the wall, holding it into that outer zone though. Looking very clean out there for the first round qualifying.
You see him working that wheel in between the inside clips, and at 89.7 on the board. Not too bad with the current qualifying scores. So we move on to Una Warren. Entering in smoothly here. Good momentum down the hill. Never lifting there through the outside zone to drive into the inside clip and clean through inside clip too as well. Out to the wall, gets to the little tap, keeps things going. And once more before crossing that finish line.
And Yuta there with an 87.3. So definitely some improvement that can be made, but looking good as we have Mark Pretty now in his A80 Supra. Initiates in, Mark Pretty coming down the hill. Decent angle as he comes through outer zone 2 into 3. Grabbing that inside clip, carrying a lot of speed through these inside clips as he pushes out now towards that wall. Tries to keep it in that outer zone, lots of angle through it. Mark Pretty ripping through that course.
Yeah, looking comfortable back in the Supra. Again, starting the season out. The S15 and getting a 90.3 on the board for his first run as we move on to Mustafa. And picking up throttle as he crosses that line and throwing that RX-8 in. Full commitment down the hill, but we see a little bit of puff of dirt there through outside zone 2, but looking good through the inside clips there. Out to that wall. Smooth along that finish line.
That sound will never get old. Breaking the limiter on that RX-8. Coming in with an 89 for Mustafa Amine. We have Masashi Yoshida ready for their run in another R33. And man, like I said, I love these cars. Great to see them being used here. Initiates in. Masashi throwing it down the hill. Getting through those outer zones, grabs the inside clip, maybe gets up on that rumble strip a little bit before transitioning for the second one. It makes it work and pushes out towards the wall, holding lots of angle through that outer zone and finishing out the first run.
Yeah, looking good through run 1. Masashi Yoshida, 93.7 on the board. And William Holloway for his first run of the day. Orange looking a little darker than normal. So he fires that little Miata in, down the hill. Oh, and backwards through outside zone 3 and is still able to pick out inside clip 1 as well as 2 as he drives that car out to outside zone 4 and along that wall. William Holloway with his first run.
Yeah, that'll definitely hurt his score, but glad to see William in that Miata. That thing is so cool and crazy that he caught it and hung on to it the whole way through, but an 85.3 for William Holloway's first run. So we're back around at the top, sitting on a 97, only 1 point away from Robert. Sitting on that 98. We'll see if Zach O'Sullivan can maybe better his score of a 97. Let's see what you can do. Get out of that 50 roll and get on throttle. Zach O'Sullivan sends it in. Coming down the hill, right on the lock stops, transitions to the next outer zone, dropping a bit of tire though as he comes into that inside clip. Pushes out towards the wall, holding the angle through. That's going to be a close one. That was a very quick run from Zach there.
Yeah, we'll Zach flying through the course there. And a 91.3, so falling shy of that big 97, but he's in second place for round 2, and Yasir Assad up for his second run. Coming off the 95.3 as he fires the RX-7 in and drops a bit of tire past outside zone 2, but makes the transition across, grabs the inside clips, driving that car out to that wall, leaves it just a little bit there. Works it back out to the outside and across that finish line.
You start getting an 88 on that run. We're already sending off Abdulrahman, sitting on a 93. In the RX-8. All the rotary power in this group as we sends it in. looking good through the outer zones, carrying a lot of speed. Could have been a little deeper on that first inside clip, but grabs inside clip 2 beautifully, holding it all the way along the edge of the wall through that final outer zone. Abdullerman coming in strong.
And after coming off that 93, so already a good score, and 91.7 for run 2. We move on to Kazuki Fukushi, as we see that drop-off score become higher and higher, currently an 88.3. Fires that Evo in. Snappy transition across for outside zone 3 and down into inside clip 2. Driving that car nicely, a little tentative there through that last and final outside zone, but there he goes across the finish line for run 2.
Yeah, Fukushi hoping to improve and doesn't on that 86.7. 89 so far is holding him in that top 32, sitting on an 87.3 and hoping to improve as well. Una Warden ready to take another crack at it here in qualifying. Initiates in, sending it down the hill in that BMW, keeping it together through the inside clip. Grabs the second one, pushes out to the final outer zone, gets on the wall, and looking good through it. We'll see what kind of score Una gets for that run.
And an 89.3, so does better and puts him up into the current top 32. Mark Pretty for his second run, getting on the 90.3 again, switching back to the A80 Supra. They're starting the season with the S15. Looks good down the hill, a little late on the transition there into outside zone 3, but picks up those inner clips. Coming out to that last and final one here on that wall. And an all right run from Mark Pretty for run 2.
Yeah, Mark Pretty improving his score just a little bit there. 91 for the second run for Mark Pretty. We have Mustafa Amine now sitting on an 89. Mustafa's going to want to improve that. Let's hear this rotary scream as he comes through that first outside zone down into outer zone 2. Makes the transition work beautifully through outer zone 3 and into the first inside clip, through the second inside clip on the wall. The final outer zone, making that rotary scream and hopefully screaming for a better score.
And he does a 91.7, so that will put him into the current top 32. But remember, round 1, 92.3 was the score needed to get into top 32. Move along to Masashi Yoshida in that V8 Ford-powered 32, and looking good here, tight to the inside clip, as well as 2. A scrappy run from Masashi. He crosses that finish line.
Masashi Yoshida already sitting on a 93.7 and gets a 90 for the final run of qualifying. Now for the final run in Group 4, William Holloway sitting on an 85.3 after that backwards entry through outer zone 3. We'll have to see if he can improve that score and get into the top 32 today with that little Miata of his. Again, hitting that block stop, maybe over-rotating a little bit, but making it work through those inside clips. That's definitely going to hurt his score again. We'll see if William Holloway had enough in that run to maybe make it into the top 32 today.
Yeah, it might be exciting to watch and stylish to see, but he's really dropping a ton of speed in the wrong part of the course. If the driver is going to drop any speed, it needs to be right after that transition into outside zone 3, and then picking up throttle as soon as they can to hold as much momentum as they can into inside clip 1. We'll actually go to that line map as we wait on our next group of drivers to load in. We see there that first decel zone right before clip 3. and down in between the inside clips again, right after that transition, as you know, a lead driver, say, pulling handbrake before they've actually transitioned, or dropping any type of speed before they make their transition, is really hard to chase and can choke that chase driver up. So we don't want to see it in qualifying either. And there's our current top 8. After 4 groups, Robert still with his 98 and new highest score in VDC qualifying. While we wait on these drivers to get their little bit of practice runs, we'll go over our qualifying rules if you're new here. First round of Virtual Drift Championship that you're watching. Drivers are, of course, given 2 non-consecutive judge laps, and that highest score is what counts. And typical tiebreakers are determined by that lower qualifying score. And then our judges judge on line, angle, and impact. There it is. That line, of course, is that ideal line throughout the course that is dictated by those clipping zones and outside zones as well. And of course, that line map. And then the angle is the amount of angle that car has throughout the given run and how well the driver controls it. And then that impact is kind of sort of that extra X factor that a driver can put onto their run, and is a very small portion of their score as well, really just 10 points towards their score. And then just a little bit different, each judge will score the entire run with a maximum of 100 points, and then those 3 scores are put into an average, and that's how we end up with their qualifying scores. I've heard the last call for those drivers, and it looks like Austin Meeks is going to be first up in Group 5. In 7 groups today. It looks like everybody showed up again. And wrong gear there. As Austin Meeks is off again for that 50 roll we saw on the line map, and picking up throttle as he crosses that line. Throws that S15 in, filling that second outside zone as well. S3 tight to the inside clip, maybe a little too tight. Again, judges want to see those cars off the rumble strip, and there he is out to the wall, leaves that zone just a little bit, works it back out there and across that finish line.
But Austin Meeks looking really good out there and showing it out too with a 91. Great to see that there from Austin Meeks, as we have Andreas Lene now ready to go. Andreas didn't make it into the top 32 at the last one, just barely missing out. So let's hope he's dialed in for this run as he gets on throttle, throws it in. Andreas with tons of angle coming down the hill, makes the transition work, but drops tire as he comes through outer zone 3, grabs the inside clip and inside clip 2. Could have been a bit deeper in both of them, but makes it work for the wall ride in the final outer zone. We'll see what kind of score Andreas Lene puts down for his first run.
Yeah, as you pointed out, just falling shy of round 133rd. And an 89 on the board, so he might want to better that for his second run, but he's got time. Shoma Takaya up for his first run. Always showing up in some cool cars is Shoma Takaya. Yes, that is an S14 there. 180 front. Throwing that car in nicely. Good angle down the hill. Smooth transition, staying on throttle. Down to inside clip 2 very nicely as he drives into this last and final outside zone, all the way up against the wall. Shoma Takaya, great run.
And a good score from Shoma for the first run, 92. As we move over to Anton Kozula up in the BMW. Anton gets on throttle, and let's see what he can do. Lots of angle coming down the hill, but dropping tire big time through outer zone 2. Grabs all of outer zone 3, gets through the first inside clip, but washing way wide for the second inside clip, but makes it work for the wall ride. Maybe leaving it just a little bit there near the end. We'll see what kind of score comes in for Anton.
Yeah, it's impressive that he was still able to get into that last and final outside zone without going into the wall, with being wide on inside clip 2, but makes it work. Christian Petrov for his first run of the day. Rolling on to throttle. Initiating in, maybe just a little slightly late, but keeps things going nicely down the hill. The inside clip, little waver there through that first inside clip, but grabs the second one nicely all the way out there to the wall. Full commitment across that finish line is Christian Petrov.
Yeah, Petrov trying to get that high score in and does manage to get into the 90. Straight up 90 for Christian Petrov. Next up to the line, Olivier. Olivier in that S14. Holding her steady at 50 or 80 kilometers an hour, gets past the line, and off we go. Olivier sending it in off the initiation, trying to keep that angle down the hill, makes the transition work through outer zone 3, trying to carry his speed through the next 2 inside clips, washes a little bit wider on outside or inside clip 2, and banging off the wall as he tries to just keep in control around that final outer zone.
Yeah, did a good job to keep things going, but that might be a little deduction there as he bounces off that wall. 83.3. As we see that cutoff score being an 89, and Andreas holding on to that 32nd position as we move on to Erikas. Erikas running back again in the E92, a little bit different kit, nice livery this time, and smooth run so far here for his first run here at Sturup Raceway. Very nice in the last outside zone. Erikas looking good.
Just waiting for one more score to come in for Erikas, and there it is, a 92.3. Very solid first run for Erikas. Kevin Stump did not make it to the line. We're going to move on. Nick Novak. Nick in his BMW. Ready to send it through outer zone 1, maybe kicking up a bit of tire, dropping 2 tires along outer zone 2, making it work through outer zone 3, bouncing his way along that first inside clip, but making it work through inside clip 2, grabs that wall and holds that angle and gets the car a little settled, finally, as he passes the finish line.
Car was bucking through the hill there, inside clip 1, but he managed to keep that thing going. 86 on the board for Nick Novak. We move on to Augusto Ferreira for his first run. I believe our last driver here in Group 5. Qualifying here round 2. Rolling on the throttle. Initiating in nicely with a ton of angle, but hangs on to the momentum, but he drops tire along outside zone 3 down to inside clip 2 with quite a decel there. We're picking back up throttle and driving through that last and final outside zone across that finish line. Wait on the judges' scores.
Augusto Ferreira doing what he could even with that tiny tire drop, and a 90 comes in for Augusto. Very good score. As we're back around to Austin Meeks sitting on that 91. Austin Meeks looking pretty dialed in this S15 of his. Let's see what he can do for the second run of qualifying. Maybe a little too shallow there through outside zone 1 and 2, but grabs all of outside zone 3, getting that inside clip of inside clip 1, and little on the second hash mark of outside or inside clip 2, but and again shallow again through the final outer zone. So not as dialed there as the first run was.
Yeah, and it's the score is going to show that as well, 83.7, but we'll have to wait and see if that 91 is going to hang on. Andreas, 89. Last time we saw sitting on the edge of that top 32, drops a little bit of tire through outside zone 2. And a A little wide for inside clip 2, but nicely into the last and final outside zone. Makes a little bit of a waiver there. Finishes it out.
Just a small correction there through that final outside zone, and getting an 88. So it's going to be hard to hang on to that score with still 2 more groups to go after this. Shoma Takaya sitting on a 92, going for his final run of qualifying. And what a cool car. Shoma always brings us the cool stuff. Whoever thought a 180 nose on an S14, sending it in for the second run of qualifying, holding that angle beautifully down the hill. Snappy transition through outer zone 3, grabs that inside clip, holds it together though, even though it cost him quite a bit of speed off that transition he made, but gets through the final outer zone clean. We'll see what kind of score he gets with that. I'm sure the judges aren't going to like it though.
Yeah, and it is going to suffer 84 on the board, and we're on to Anton Kozlov. Currently sitting on an 83.7 after dropping a little bit of tires in his first run. Throws that F22 in, looking good this time through outside zone 2 as well as 3. A little tight to that inside clip 1 and goes wide again for inside clip 2, but making it work for the last and final outside zone as he fills it and goes across that finish line.
Yeah, again, just some mistakes there and getting an 80 for that second run. So sadly, we won't be seeing Anton in the top 32 today, but sitting on a 90 and at the line and ready to go is Christian Petrov. Christian wanting to improve. We'll see what he can lay down here. Maybe a little bit of lag. I'm not sure if that was just my end or if that's coming through on your end as well.
It is, Tanner. Quite a bit of lag from Christian Petrov.
Oh boy, that's
might
zero that run.
Did a little dance.
Oh
no.
Hello?
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh, but how can you not? So that one, yeah, that's definitely going to be a tough one for the judges to score. I think that will end up being a 0 on the board due to the excessive amount of lag as we move on to Olivier. So fires his S14 down the hill, makes that transition across, filling outside zone 3. Very nice long inside clip 1, but washes a little wide after 2, but he picks up that final outside zone, gives that wall a tap. Olivier looking good for round 2.
Yeah, Olivier really picking it up on that second run there and pulling out a 90.3. As we move on to Erikas Yerkas sitting on that 92.3. We'll see what Erikas can throw out for his second run. Gets on throttle, lays it down. Looking good through outer zone 2, making the transition work for outer zone 3 and right through that inside clip beautifully through inside clip 2 as well. Erikas going out here on that second qualifying run, making it through that final outer zone nicely.
Erikas proven once again he is a contender and has been for years now. I think another driver that's been with us since 2018, if not before that, 93 on the board. I remember battling him back in season 2 Virtual Drift Championship. And Kevin Stump, fortunately making it to his second run, missed out on his first. He's got one chance at it here and looking good through this chance that he has. Picking up these inside clips nicely. It's very smooth. All the way out there to that wall. Kevin Stump for run 2, his only run here in qualifying.
A make it or break it, one and done. And a 90.3. So I believe that does put him into the top 32. Someone who's not quite in the top 32 yet, Nick Novak, sitting on an 86. Got to improve that score. Let's see what he can do. Lights up the tires, gets through outer zone 1. And nicely holding it through outer zone 2. Beautiful through 3. This time it's not bucking him as much through that inside clip and gets through inside clip 2 well. Putting it on the wall there for that outer zone and lots of angle for it as well. That'll definitely improve that 86.
Yeah, I think it will a little bit more settled, but yeah, still bucking a little bit through that inside clip one, but doesn't matter. 92.3 on the board for Nick Novak as we go to our last and final driver of Group 5 here. Augusto Ferreira sitting on the 90. As he enters in. Oh, looks like
Oh,
it almost sounds like the car is down on power. Hope he didn't maybe hit one of the number keys up top on your keyboard, as that would change the amount of boost that you're running. Yeah, because I don't know. There's no mechanical failures. Very, very odd there from Augusto. As we take a look at that top 32, that cutoff score being a 90 so far, but we've got 2 more groups left to go. So we're going to take another small break as we restart the server, get our last 2 groups of qualifying in. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back with our last 2 final groups of qualifying here for round 2, Sturup Raceway. And Robert sitting at the top with a 98, the new highest qualifying score in VDC history. Zach O'Sullivan right behind him, 1 point shy with a 97. Darius Ostraker with a 95.3 on the board as well. Round out our top 3. Looks like Brandon Williams will start us off for Group 6. Again, 7 groups today. Almost everybody showing up.
Well, I mean, with a condensed season, every round matters. So, you know, I'm hoping we keep these kind of numbers throughout the whole season, because it's great to see this many people out, and it just makes competition that much more tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've pointed out multiple times now, round 1 with a 92.3 is what was required to make it into the top 32 main event. Again, round 2, top 32 will be later on today. We'll take a little hour break in between quali and the main event. Here's Brandon Williams turning in his chaser and going way wide for outside zone 2 down the hill, but keeps things going. And a big waiver into the last and final outside zone from Brandon Williams as well. So a lot of mistakes from Brandon in his first qualifying run.
Yeah, Brandon not looking too hot there on that first run, 76.3. So we'll have to see if he can improve that on his second run, as we have Caleb Dauphiné now ready to go in that Mustang. I believe the 2J Mustang, if I remember correctly, sending it into that second outside zone. Looking at good as he makes it through that inside clip, but washes out wide for inside clip 2. Gets into that outer zone with a little bobble. Holds it together. Pressure is kind of getting to Group 6 here.
Yeah, it might be having a couple of first 2 runs a little bit shaky. 88.3, which is going to fall shy of that current top 32 cutoff. We move on to Victor Lacheris. Almost sounds Honda powered. I'm not sure what's coming out of this thing. As he rolls onto the throttle really lightly there. Down the hill, good momentum. Nice and smooth transition into outside zone 3. Tight to the inside clip. Down to inside clip 2 as he hangs the tire off that rumble strip just a little bit. But he fills the last and final outside zone and across that finish line.
And Victor Lacheris there with that small mistake, putting those tires on the rumble strips. Judges don't want to see that. We'll wait for their scores to come in. And even with the little tire drop, 94.3, well, not tire drop, but with the tires going on the rumbles, 94.3 for Victor Lacheris. So very good run. We have Cages Alunas now. And that big wagon BMW, sending it in, dropping a little bit of tire through outer zone 1, making all of outer zone 2, getting the transition done for 3 through that inside clip. Looking snazzy out there through that second inside clip and onto the wall now on that outer zone. Lots of angle and making that big wagon BMW work around this course.
Snazzy indeed from Cayus. I apologize. 94.3, solid score from Cayus as we move on to Connor Christensen. 880 Supra again becoming more and more popular amongst the field as it rolls on the throttle out of that 50-mile-an-hour roll and flying down the hill in his Supra. Nice and tight to the inside clip, but washes wide after 2 there. Down into the last outside zone along the wall. A good run from Connor.
Yeah, a little bit of hesitation there after that second inside clip. Almost had to clutch kick it to get the power to come back on. And 87.7 Connor Christensen's first run as we have Stephen Hatcher in the FD rotary powered RX-7. And rocking a new PC. Let's see if it helps him out here. Initiates in. Looking good through outer zone 1 and 2. Dropping some tire through outer zone 3. Having to make a big correction on the wheel for that first inside clip. Pushing out to that outer zone, the final outer zone. Filling it all. Looking pretty good for that first run.
Yeah, and just upgrading his PC as well. Literally the past few days. Didn't really get a whole lot of practice until last night. 90.7 up on the board for Stephen Hatcher. We're on to Pavel Gross. His 8.6. Throws that car in. Good momentum here, not leaving that throttle until that transition there. Trying to get some grip out of that car. He feels that last and final outside zone, gives the wall a tap, crossing that finish line.
87.3 there for Pablo Gross.
Coyne was ready.
He was, yes. That launch to get up to 50, but let's see what Ebanks can do here in the R35, initiating in. Coming down that hill, filling all of outer zone 2, but dropping big tire through outer zone 3. Maybe missing that inside clip just a little bit as he comes through inside clip 2, grabbing it and getting out onto the wall for that final outer zone. Making it work.
Yeah, he certainly does and looks good in the GTR, but as you pointed out, goes a bit wide after outside zone 3 and forces him wide for inside clip 2 as we move on to Daniel Mora. His first run of the day in his E30. And looking good on initiation. Big angle down the hill. Staying on throttle and big angle once again, but super inside for inside clip 1 as well as clip 2. Again, judges want those drivers to stay off the rumble strips in that lead position, so qualifying as well, but he fills that last and final outside zone.
Looking like a big mistake there from Daniel Mora, and sadly only getting an 80.7 on the board. He'll definitely have to improve that to try and get into the top 32. We wait for Artem to get to the line. Final driver of Group 6 before we start the second runs of qualifying.
Ooh, and resetting again.
Don't you hate that when you lean on the button? The A80 Supra of Artem. You're so right, this chassis is getting so popular, but it does well. Artem initiates in, looking good through outer zone 1 and 2, transitions down the hill. Could have been a bit deeper into outer zone 3, but gets that inside clip, goes up on the rumble strip for inside clip 2. Holds it together for the wall ride. Makes it work. We'll see what kind of score the judges give Artem.
Move on back to Brandon Williams, 76.3. Very low score for his first run. Definitely needs to better it. He's got a chance to do so here. Throws that big car in down the hill. Smooth transition across. Nice and clean through inside 1 as well as 2. Looking good. Run 2. And definitely will better that 76.3.
Way better run for Brandon there. That's the Brandon we know. And a 91.7 for Brandon Williams. A way better score than that 76.3 that he started out with. Sitting on an 88.3, this man here, Caleb Dauphiné, in the 2J powered Ford Mustang. Initiates in through outer zone 1. Holds it together through 2. A little bit of wavering in the wheel there through 2, but makes it work in 3. Getting really up on the rumble strips there for that first inside clip. Grabbing inside clip 2, pushing out towards the wall for outer zone 3. Nice angle through it. We'll see if that's enough to beat that 88.3.
Yeah, it's going to be tough being that far on the inside of inside clip 1, 86.7. That is a very important place that the judges don't want the lead drivers to be, as it you're really kind of cutting the space off for the chase driver as we move on to Victor Lacheris, 94.3. He looks good down the hill so far, very smooth into outside zone 3, down into inside clip 2. Driving that car nicely out to that last and final wall. And another solid run from Victor Lacheris.
Yeah, Victor looking super dialed in on this track. A good tiebreaker score if he needs it, a 92.7. Also sitting on a 94.3, Cages Salunas. in this beautiful wagon BMW that he's got here, and he made it work the first run of qualifying. Let's see how he does on the second. Initiates in, maybe a little longer to get to angle off of outer zone 1, but makes it work through 2 and 3, grabbing that inside clip and inside clip 2. Looking good onto the wall ride as well, holding that angle through that outer zone. We'll see what kind of score he gets there.
And a solid 90, so he'll stick with his 94.3. Connor Christensen up for his second run. Needs to better it. 87.7 for run 1. So we see that top 32 cutoff, 90.7 so far with another group left to go. Connor looking good down the hill so far. Tons of speed, tons of angle. He's going to go way wide for inside clip 1. Too far on the inside for inside 2. He's going to go all the way out to the wall. Give the wall a little bit of a kiss. Finish out his second run.
Yeah, it's really going to hurt him there. And Connor Christensen getting a 77.7 for that second run. So he will not be in the top 32 today. Steven Hatcher sitting on a 90.7. Let's see if he can improve his score for the second run. In that rotary powered FD, down the hill he comes. Looking good through the first 2 clips. Beautiful through outside zone 3. Grabbing that inside clip and inside clip 2 as well. Holding it together, just got to get through the outer zone. The final outer zone in the wall ride, and he manages to do so. Let's see if that improves that score of that 90.7.
Yeah, I think it will. And I kind of, yeah, 93 up on the board. So that moves him up a little bit higher into that top 32. And I kind of noticed it on his first run. He sort of seems like he might have some latency issues. As he had a little bit of that in run 2 as well. As we move on to Pavel Cross. Throwing his 8.6 in. Good speed down the hill, smooth transition across. Nice and tight to the inside clip. Very tentative along that transition though in between the inside clips. Driving that car nicely into the last and final wall run. Pavel Cross for run 2 needs to better that 87.3.
And he does with a 90.7. Sitting on an 85.3. Wayne Ebanks in the R35. That's on throttle. Let's see what he can do. Again, on that 85.3, making his way through outer zone 2, grabbing all of outer zone 3, not making a mistake into that first inside clip, looking a little more dialed in. Could have been a bit deeper in inside clip 2, but gets on the wall and holds the angle through that final outer zone. That should improve that 85.3.
It just might, and again, needs to do that in order to make it into top 32, as we see Austin Meeks now in that position with a 91. And a 93.3 on the board for Kawain Ebanks. We move on to Daniel Mora, who is below that top 32 cutoff with an 80.7. So we see that cutoff still at 91. Throwing that E30 in. Great speed down the hill here. Very good commitment. A little bit too tight to the inside clip 1, but very nicely for 2. And very nice for outside zone 4. A little bit of a waiver there before he crosses that finish line, but I think that's a much better run than the previous 80.7.
Much better run indeed, a 90.3, but I think the cutoff is higher than that now. As our final run here for Group 6, before we go into the last group of qualifying for Group 7, Artem sitting on an 88.3 in that JZA 80 Supra, throwing it in through outer zone 1 and 2. Looking good through outer zone 3 as well, grabbing that inside clip, a lot more dialed in this run. Looking way better as Artem. Managing to keep the run together all the way to the finish. That was a way better run.
Yeah, I think so, but will it be enough to make it on into the top 32? Current cutoff 91, and there it is, 93 on the board. But again, we have one more group of qualifying to go. Group 7. Robert still at the top with his 98. Zach O'Sullivan with his 97. Darius Elstraka with a 95.3 to round out the top 3. And then Vladislav Yakulovich with a 94 to round out the current top 8 after 6 groups of qualifying. Brandon Patrick with a 93.7 to start out that 9 through 16. Artem Chilkov with a 93. Round out that top 16. We move on to 17 through 24. Look at Tikhon Pileski all the way back into 17th, something we are not used to seeing, but is still a solid score, 93 on the board. And Austin Zalewski with his 92 down there in 24th position to round out the top 24. And there's your current top 32. Again, one more group of qualifying to go. Shoma Takaya with 92 there in 25th. And Oliver Eppinger, 91.3. Of course, these scores will have to get sorted after we're done. Because again, that lower qualifying score will be the tiebreaker between all of these runs you see with these same high scores.
And I think that's something the drivers this season are really going to need to start thinking about too, is not only, putting in great runs every qualifying, but really making up for it to get that higher score for a tiebreaker to make sure that they actually can make it on through if a tiebreak happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a little bit with our averaging system, you do end up with a lot of these same scores, but they got there in different ways with these 0.7s, 0.3s. But overall, I mean, these drivers are just going nuts here in Season 7. The new physics, new tires. Round 1 was a fantastic round to watch, qualifying and top 32. As well as today, everybody has just been going crazy, and it looks like Daryl Diaz is at the line ready to go. Start things out for our last and final group of qualifying. Turning in his Miata. Rolls on the throttle. And fires that little car in. Good speed down the hill, filling outside zone 2 as well as 3. Big angle there. Through inside clip 1, but hangs on to the momentum. Drives that car out to the last outside zone. And there he goes across that finish line. Daryl Diaz.
Yeah, Daryl really coming out swinging in the little Miata with a 90.7. So we have Peter now in another JZA80 Supra. Let's see what Peter can lay down for his first run here. Initiates in through outer zone 1, looking good. Outer zone 2, nice and completely full. Through 3, but really high up on the rumble strip there through that inside clip. Makes it work though for inside clip 2, puts it on the wall for that final outer zone. Looking good there for Peter for that first run.
Yeah, but the score does suffer just a little bit, being too far on the inside, 89.7, and we're on to Ernestas. His first run of the day. Again, last group of qualifying. Filling outside zone 2 nicely. Smooth transition across about as deep as you can be, and then very nice for the inside clips there. One after another, and then out to that last wall ride and across that finish line, Ernestas.
90.7 there for Ernestas. And the score's just gonna keep on climbing, so let's see. I don't know what the current cutoff point is, but we'll see what Daniel can do. Sorry. Initiates in, looking good through the first 2 outer zones, transitions down the hill through outer zone 3, making quick work of that inside clip. And beautiful through inside clip 2, really putting it down here. Really solid run there from Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel now teammates with Erikas. Yurka's looking good for his first run of qualifying, as we see that qualifying cutoff point, 91.3, holding strong. Will it be enough to push Daniel into the top 32? It does, 93.7 on the board as we move on to Abdulaziz Al Harbi. Turning in his Chevy SS. or G8. Looking good on initiation. Ooh, and backwards through inside clip 1, down to inside clip 2, a little bit on the inside, drives out to that wall, and fills that last outside zone.
Aziz going for that crazy amount of angle, but made it look cool. But sadly, the score does reflect it. 84.3 for Abdulaziz, so he'll have to improve that on his next run around. Alexander Jaeger now ready to lay it down. Almost done with qualifying here today before we get to our battles later on. So we see Alexander coming through those first 2 outer zones. Tons of speed as he comes through inside clip 1. Makes the transition work for it inside clip 2. Puts it up on the wall and keeps that angle with that Supra all the way through that final outside zone.
Yeah, Jaeger looking good. But again, it needs to be enough. And it is 95 on the board for Alexander Jaeger as we move on to Pontus Jakobsen. In his home country here in Sturup Raceway. And we're not getting a seam there. He rolled forward a little bit. He almost made it.
Maybe he stalled it.
Maybe having some technical difficulties is Pontus. Oh, and here he comes.
That was right. Maybe he did stall it.
This time showing up with the R35, even the RX-7 chassis. Back to his old roots. Rolls on the throttle. Goes for a snappy initiation, but looks maybe a little late and pours out of the angle going down the hill. Snaps to it for outside zone 3 though, and nicely down to inside clip 2. All the way out there to the wall. And finishing out strong is Pontus.
Yeah, Pontus trying to get a good score early. And does so, 90.7, so not a bad score to start out with. We come to the last driver before we go back around for the second runs of qualifying, Chris Kozako. In that 240SX, sorry, left-hand drive. Initiates in through outer zone 1 and comes in through 2, carrying lots of speed and momentum beautifully out of outer zone 3 into inside clip 1 and grabbing inside clip 2 as well, maybe touching the rumble strips just a little bit, but hanging on, but leaving out of that final outer zone a little bit early. See how that went.
It did leave it just a bit there in that last and final outside zone, but overall good run, 90.3, so he is going to fall just a little shy of that top 32 cutoff, but he's got another chance at it as we're back around to Daryl Diaz for his second run, 90.7, so he's just a little shy of top 32 as well. He throws that little car down the hill. Small waiver there before he makes this transition, but looks good through inside clip 1 down to 2. Almost over angles, but keeps things going all the way out there to the wall. And a solid run from Daryl Diaz once again.
Yeah, Daryl Diaz throwing it down and improving his score up to a 92.3. Little Miata that could, as we have Peter going for his second run, 89.7. Definitely going to need to improve that, as I believe our cutoff is way above that now. Throwing it in through outer zone 1, grabbing all of outer zone 2, making the transition down that hill. Maybe been a tad deeper into outer zone 3, but grabs inside clip 2, 1 and 2 beautifully. Gets out onto that wall. Peter really throwing it out there for that final run of qualifying.
Yeah, needs to better the 89.7 if he wants to make it into the main event later today. And a 94.7 on the board for Peter. We move on to Ernestes for his second run. So we see that cutoff score get higher and higher, 91.7 now. Ernestes sitting just below at 1 point. fires that car into outside zone 3. Nice and tight to the inside clip as well, just along that home strip edge, filling the outside zone. Estes going after it there in his second run.
Ernestus getting that 93, pushing him up into the top 32. Sitting on a 93.7. Daniel really bringing the heat on the first run of qualifying. Let's see what he can do on the second. Initiates into outer zone 1, looking good through outer zone 2. Transitions down the hill, filling all of outer zone 3 and grabbing that inside clip beautifully as he transitions down to inside clip 2 with a little bit of bobble, trying to set up for that final outside zone, but holds it all the way through. Will that be enough to better than 93.7 though?
Yeah, it's going to be tough with that correction there along that inside clip too, but solid second score, a 91 on the board as we move on to Abdulaziz Al Harbi, 84.3, so below that cutoff score, and we've only got 4 drivers left to go. Picks up throttle quickly, fires that big car in. And not so much angle this time through inside clip 1, down to 2, a little bit too far on the inside. Works back out to that wall. And across that finish line is Abdulaziz Al Harbi.
Yeah, Abdulaziz there with a couple mistakes that sadly are going to hurt him today, getting 88, which will mean he will not be in the top 32 today. Alexander Yeager sitting on a 95. Well, it's your final run of qualifying. Let's see what you can do, Alexander, as he throws it down into outer zone, through outer zone 1 and 2, filling out 3 beautifully, really quickly getting through outer zone 1, or inside clip 1, into inside clip 2, getting on the throttle, holding it against the wall in that Supra. Alexander.
Yeah, oh, wow, okay, Alexander Yeager for a run 2, trying to better than 95. Might do it with that run. It's gonna be close. 94.7, so he falls just shy. 0.3 points. So we move on to Pontus Jacobson there. 90.7, a strong score, but not strong enough. 91.7 is what you need, so he needs to pick up another point as he has a little hiccup there on initiation. Transition for outside zone 3, picks up that inner clip and down a little bit too far on the inside 4, inside clip 2. So he works back out to the wall, gives it a little tap, and there he goes across that finish line.
A couple of mistakes here and there. I don't know if that'll be enough to bump him up and get past it, and it is not. An 85.7 for Pontus' second run, as we're on to our final driver of qualifying here for round 2 of the Virtual Drift Championship. Chris Kozico in the 240SX S13. Initiates in, sitting on a 90.3. He's got to bump up his score. Looking good throughout our zone 2 and 3. Little adjustment of the wheel through that inside clip, but makes it work through inside clip 2, getting nice and close to the wall. Could have been a bit deeper into that outer zone, but makes it work and finishes out the run.
Yeah, will it be enough? And wow, it is, and that pushes the cutoff score to a 92. Wojciech Wawrinka, and I think he's the I think that's everybody that does have a 92 will have to wait for all these scores to get sorted with their tiebreakers. Again, their lower qualifying score will be the tiebreaker between these high scores that are all the same. We'll move to 1 through 8 there. Robert hanging on to that 98 on the board. How do you not, especially with this, difficult track that these drivers have to tackle today? Zach O'Sullivan with his 97, Darius Ostrika with a 95.3, and Victor Lucier is rounding out that top 8 with a 94.3. Gaius with a 94.3 as well in ninth. Abdul Rahman Al Shetwi with his 93 to round out top 16. Again, just high scores everywhere. Stephen Hatcher, 93. Look at all those 93s, all the way down to Tikhon Pileski in 21st position today. And Ryan Littoral with his 92.7 round out top 24. And there you have it. Victor Alves, 92.7, and Wojciech down there with his 92 to round out top 32. So we'll take a quick break, let the judges sort the sheet, and we should be right back with the top 32 bracket for later today. All right. Welcome back again, everybody. Thank you for waiting. We've got our top 32 bracket for today. Look at there, Robert, number 1 seed up in the top left-hand corner. Zach O'Sullivan right there for your number 2 spot in the top right-hand corner. We've got some battles ahead of us here in the top 32. It is going to be exciting. Robert and Wojciech to start things out. And then we'll work our way down the left-hand side of the bracket first and into the right-hand side of the bracket. But before we do that, we are going to take, again, about an hour break. We'll check with the rest of the staff. We might come back at the top of the hour, so maybe an hour and 20. Or we'll come back, 20 minutes before that top of the hour. We'll schedule the stream here on YouTube so you can join in and wait for us to come back for that top 32, and we'll work all the way through the bracket to the finals today here for round 2 at Sturup Raceway. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to all our sponsors: Sim Magic, Next Level Racing, Grip Royal Tire Stacks, and Joka Design for these track updates and these track objects. Again, small break, and we'll see everybody back in about an hour's time.